Hey everyone, Adam and Andrew here with It Takes Two Takes, here to talk about yet another movie. We want to give our take on the movie The Wrath of Man. Oh, I guess it's Wrath of Man. Sorry, I didn't mean to add the. It's Wrath of Man. I want to be correct here, Adam. Jason Statham is in it. It's a Guy Ritchie film. I personally love to go in to see any Guy Ritchie film. I enjoy, especially when he's writing and directing. He is involved in the screenplay on this film. I don't know to what extent. We'll get to that in a minute. He did direct it, of course. And again, you got Jason Statham reuniting with him. There's action, a bit of a murder sort of mystery for a period of time. There's a kind of a heist element to it. It's a little bit of what you would expect from a Guy Ritchie film. Does it deliver? A little bit, in my opinion. I don't.
Look, before we get into that, if you like this channel, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Your comments, your feedback, we really appreciate it, and keep it coming. We love to see it. But with that, it was a fun movie. It was a fun heist movie.
So let me get this straight. They just walked away.
I went to the theater and saw this before it became available for streaming.
Look at you.
I know, and yeah, it was fun to watch. It was interesting, and I know I saw some comments about the movie where people found it jarring, the bouncing back and forth in time. And I could see that a little bit at times, but at the same time, every time they did it, they were showing another person's perspective, right? They weren't necessarily doing it just to do it, just to bounce around through time. They kept going back to that opening heist.
Fuck me.
Alarm registered.
That how was everyone else involved, especially as you start to introduce some of these other characters. Well, how did they impact that first heist? And I thought it was great. As you start to get into Jason Statham's character, especially his backstory, you realize he's a criminal in and of himself, right?
You started by saying you'd do anything, but what I'm hearing is you think you've done everything.
He's just a pissed off criminal. The tone of the movie I thought worked really well. I liked the way they kind of little moments like him staring at all the badges you find out later on is him actually taking photos of the badges. There's all these little things that I think really worked sometimes when they did go back and revisit those scenes that in the beginning seemed minor, but you find out, no, they actually had a little bit more meaning to them. So I wasn't bothered by the jumping around in time.
I wasn't bothered so much by the jumping around in time. I do feel like some of the ways that Guy Ritchie attempted to direct this film didn't completely land for me. The jumping around in time was okay, but I think when you compound it with everything else, I had some issues. For instance, the title cards just felt a little out of place at times for me. I do feel like while it was interesting getting everyone's perspective, I think the message of the movie really is that there's no anti-hero here, in my opinion. It was just everyone sucks. Everyone's got their issue, and it's not even like Guy Ritchie. Guy Ritchie, Statham's character H. Yes, there's an element of vengeance, but nowhere in there did it really feel to me like we wanted to necessarily root for him to get that vengeance. Maybe from a pure action, I want to see how this goes down standpoint, but I thought it was a cool approach that there was no real sign of anyone being that truly, there was no moral code or any of that, right? It was just chaos. In that regard, it was pretty cool. I like that it kind of subverted what we're used to seeing, where your typical revenge flick. This, again, everybody is just an asshole in this movie, and in that regard, I thought that was good. Where I had some issues again was some of the uneven pacing with the timeline to a degree. It didn't bother me as much as what you're overhearing, Adam. I would say it was some of the dialogue. I love Guy Ritchie's writing for the most part. It's not always as good as like a Snatch or his other films. Like, it's just, some of it just felt, it was just very like kind of juvenile at times. It just didn't land for me. Like, some of the one-liners they were throwing out there, it was like, it wasn't very, sucking your own dick or whatever he was saying. I'm just like, come on.
He looks like he could handle a cock.
Yeah, small hands. Makes me very popular, and you look good.
Come on, like this isn't. It wasn't even funny. Like there was no wit to it. It was missing a little bit of edge in that regard. It had its moments, but overall, it was just the script writing, and I wanted more from it. Expecting again a Guy Ritchie film, it didn't deliver on that end.
There isn't really any memorable dialogue to it. There was more scenes that were memorable, like when the armored car is being held up by his old crew, and they see he's on that armored car, and they all of a sudden like, what's the boss doing here? I thought that was great. You know, I almost expected after we learned that he was going to start bringing his gang in a little bit to help out, and he didn't. Right? He just kept on going solo. So yeah, I think some more punchy dialogue, or at least memorable dialogue, would have been nice. One part I was really impressed with, and I really liked, and I would have almost liked to have seen a little bit fleshed out a little bit more, was Scott Eastwood's character.
Yeah.
He ended up becoming a great, in my opinion, an entertaining villain at least. And I almost wanted more of his character in it, more so than their leader of their little old military group and everything.
Yeah.
I actually wanted more of him. I thought he did a great job, though every time I'm looking at him, I'm going, that's Clint Eastwood with a beard. But no, he did a great job. I liked him. His motivation was pretty simple. He just wanted money, and he didn't really want to share it. So his motivation was real easy to kind of gather. And most of the guys' motivation was pretty simple to gather. But you also got a little bit more of a psychopath in him that I don't think we really got to enjoy as much, right? He killed people partially because he wanted to. It didn't haunt him. It didn't bother him. And I felt like I wanted a little bit more of that. We didn't get it. We got a little bit as he's about ready to kill his old boss or whatever, but that was about it. I like I said, I feel like there could have been more with his character.
I'm gonna need that. Oh, sorry.
But overall, I was happy with the film. It was entertaining. I'd watch it again. I think it's got some rewatch capability to it if you like a good action heist film, because it's got some good action pieces in it. So,
especially
I think
at the end. Yeah, that ending sequence was probably the most entertaining to me of the entire film.
Yeah, I think there are some characters I would have liked to have seen developed a little bit more, but outside of that, yeah, it was good. And I think this is a character and a world you could dive into again, right? I mean, he's still a crime boss. He's still got his group. You could still dive into this from a whole different angle than what we did this time, right? So it could be fun to revisit this world and this character again. I honestly think that aspect of his life was underdeveloped, and I would love to see more of that.
I would agree with that. I do feel like from a character standpoint in general, there were some underdeveloped things that it didn't truly bother me, but reflecting on it, it's like, the character of Bullet, I didn't fully understand, or they didn't spend as much time with. Maybe that was intentional to kind of make you realize he was the inside man, but I wasn't really surprised by that, I suppose. Andy Garcia's character, I kind of know he was this upper sort of echelon of the FBI, but I feel like he didn't get as much screen time as I was expecting he would get when he made his appearance.
Somebody knows something.
Yeah, somebody always knows something. It's just I'm not allowed to ask the hard questions.
And yeah, to your point, Scott Eastwood's character, he was great. I feel like he could have really been interesting, had an interesting dynamic of sort of terrorizing everyone in this film, and they kind of eased up on that. And in a way, I kind of respect that. I mean, it was a little bit different. I mean, I feel like we're conditioned to expecting sort of that, just this maniacal villain that is just bloodthirsty and willing to take down anyone. And the character that Scott Eastwood had, they kind of were very strategic with his approach to things, and he didn't really kind of come out of his shell until that, again, the last probably 20 minutes or so. And okay, but I agree. He was entertaining to watch because you didn't know what he was going to do next because he was so unstable. And I wish they would have explored that a bit more, spent more time with it on screen.
Cause of death, blood loss and trauma. Manner of death, homicide.
Yeah, and I think not that I needed a lot of dialogue about it, but it felt like, okay, you explored the fact that the villains had a family because we were at a kid's birthday party.
Right.
You explored that Jason Statham has an ex-wife, and now a dead son.
You killed our son.
The rest of the armored guard people really didn't. Do they have a life? I mean, we saw them all play pool once, but there was really no mention of anything else outside of that, as far as in terms of is there any more to their characters outside of they work at this company? That's it.
I would have argued the same about Josh Hartnett's character. I felt like I was curious to see where his character was going to go, and I don't feel like they fully developed him. Boy Sweat
Right.
or whatever, I would have liked to see him kind of fleshed out a bit more too. So yeah,
And
this
that,
was a
that
perfect
yeah, that
character.
goes back to the rest of the armored employees, right? The
Yeah.
armored car employees. They didn't flesh them out, I think, as well as they could have. So I didn't really care when they started dying.
What the?
So yeah, it's hard because there's so much you could have done with this to kind of flesh things out, but it definitely would have increased the runtime, and there was a lot going on. So it would have made things interesting to see how you balance that out and still keep a movie that doesn't drag on too long. But no, it was a good movie. I enjoyed it. I'd watch it again. You know, I normally throw it more in the Jason Statham action film genre than a Guy Ritchie genre. At the same time, Guy Ritchie's done some projects I was not a fan of, like Aladdin.
Right.
So, he's not one of my upper echelon directors I normally think is going to deliver every single time. But it was a good Jason Statham action movie. I'm good with it, and I like the tone. I like the action. I'd watch a sequel to it if they made one.
I would too. Yeah, if I had to sum it up, I would probably give this and I'll try to stay away from my level of expectation, I guess. This is probably a 7 out of 10 for me. Enjoyable enough where if I saw it on, I'd catch it again, but because of the moments that it offers. But overall, I expect more. I think I liked The Gentleman more when we look at more of your typical Guy Ritchie film that he's recently done
What the fuck are you talking about?
than this one. But it'll scratch a different kind of itch if you're into sort of the sort of vengeance and vigilante type tale. So
Yeah, this was more of an action film than it was a think piece like the Gentleman was, and I think that's the difference. Like,
As stated, I am not emotional about the money. But I am emotional about the fact that someone laid their hands on my wife. My wife!
not every one of his movies is going to be that Gentleman type of think piece that's fun to watch. It's going to be more of, you're going to get some action films like this, which is great that he's got that dynamic range. He just needs to stay away from Disney live action. But outside of that, he does some good stuff. I'd like to see more of his original work and, keep going from there. But I enjoyed it. But what do you guys think? Did you enjoy this movie? Did you like it? Did you see it in the theater? Did you watch it on streaming? Is there some moment in this that you really enjoyed more than any other? Tell us what your thoughts are. And until next time, this is Adam and Andrew with It Takes Two Takes.
Hey everyone, regardless of what you thought of Wrath of Man, the fact remains we finally got some films hitting cinemas again, which also means that you're probably home a little bit less, but when you are, check out these other videos we got going on over here. You see them, they're right there. I don't know. It's probably suggesting what's popular or what is interesting to you. I hope it is. Let's find out. Let's go. See ya.